Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pro Wrestling What Ifs. I am your host, the Outlaw of Long Island, Zack Ryder. I'm here, joined from the Backstage Brawl, Randy. How's it going, Randy?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm also here, joined by Clint. There's nothing, just point blank, Clint. How's it
Here I
going,
am.
man?
I'm right here. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
And last but not least, if he's not talking baseball, football, basketball, or any other sport, he's talking wrestling. TK the Tank, Tom Kenny.
Yeah, see, I need the long drawn out intro because I don't have all those titles in the back like Clint does, so I gotta have something.
Oh, and as always, this is the sports hit list by the fans for the fans. Can't forget that part. And today we are talking about pro wrestling what if pushes. This is pretty much like what if, say, someone's push went to plan, or if it was like if it went to plan, if it did not go to plan, maybe if it fell off instead of going well. But with that said, let's just jump right into it. I'm going to start off with you, Clint. What is your submission for the pro wrestling what if?
So I almost went with Rousey just to piss Carl off. That was mine. If Rousey never came to WWE, that was going to be it. But the one I'm going to go with today is what if Mark Jindrak would have got into Evolution? What would have happened to him? What would have happened to Randy? Could have been a whole slew of things and opportunities for Jindrak. And me being a huge Randy Orton fan, after watching things about him, and it really has been like, man, those opportunities could have been handed to Mark, and where could he have gone, especially with the build and frame that guy had? If he could have got that, where would he have gone?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, because also like maybe even if you put that into perspective, what if it did go to plan and it was just Triple H, Flair, Randy, and Jindrak instead of Batista? Where would Evolution have gone from there?
Right,
well?
Exactly. I mean, and him being such a big guy, and we know how WWE loves their big guys. I mean, who knows the world title implications he could have had and everything else, and what kind of feuds he could have had if he would have panned out. I mean, It could have just been, he could have gone and strapped the rocket to him and sent him to the moon. But thank God it didn't, and Batista and Randy Orton stayed because Evolution is great. So yeah, that's what I got. That's my what if push. Mark Jindrak.
And I mean, just to hop on that, when you think about that, what if Jindrak was in Evolution instead of Batista, what does Batista's whole life look like right now? Does Batista still get to face Triple H in 2005 for the World Heavyweight Champion in the main event of WrestleMania 21? Does Batista get the Hollywood career doing, Marvel movies and now Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead? Do we have Hollywood Batista? A lot of things change if it's Jindrak. Does Jindrak get to be, is Jindrak Drax the Destroyer? So
I was about to say
there's
that.
a lot to go with that what if, man.
Yeah.
That really changed a lot. And it was really, from what I've read, is because Triple H couldn't stand, Orton and Jindrak both had that kind of frat boy humor, and Triple H couldn't stand it, so one of them was going to go, and they chose Jindrak, I guess, because Orton is he has the legacy. But it is really interesting to think about.
I agree. Now, next up on the docket, Randy, what is your submission for the pro wrestling what if?
My submission for the pro wrestling what if would probably be how to reshape the Invasion angle 2001. Because I think that's been something that a lot of fans have tried to rebook themselves because it didn't go to their liking. But I'd like to kind of see through behind that lens how it would be if you would restructure and how to book it properly and to make it more memorable for fans than it was.
Now, in that case, would you have had WCW win that invasion? Or would you keep WWE as the winner?
I'd actually have WCW as the winner. And then, like, with the moving parts, I say they should have waited at least until, like, the contracts were up with AOL that they had to let them come on. And should they have done that, should have been a year-long thing. And at Survivor Series of whatever year, probably be 2002 at the time, have WCW win and have WCW go into like the WrestleMania season as the main show on TV, kayfabe, have that storyline, have the Nitro sets and have Bischoff come on and and having this being Bischoff's plan the entire time, and having his WCW guys, and it would put a lot more perspective. And another what if Triple H wasn't injured during that time, how much of a factor it would have on him? Would he have jumped ship during that time and him lead that, contingent of WCW guys as opposed to Austin? Or would it be a two-man power trip type of situation? There's a lot of variables and scenarios you could have put, behind your head and how to book it, but there's so much that you could have done and have NWO and Goldberg possibly and Sting. A lot of variables could have happened that could have made this a lot more fulfilling from a fantasy booking standpoint from us fans. So that's my submission.
Yeah, I kind of I like that because they kind of tried to recreate an invasion type thing in, I think it was WWE 12 with the Road to WrestleMania hero storyline.
Yeah,
they had Kevin Nash come back, change Raw to Nitro, which it was a very interesting story on how maybe an invasion would have worked and if they won.
It's funny because that's kind of where the idea that I got it from in terms of doing that. And then SVR, there was a thing online called SVR Global. There was a channel on YouTube way back then. They did a whole invasion line, and that story carried on. And the way they did it, it was perfect. And I think if they went a similar route like that, that would have been a lot of fulfilling for the fans to have a final conclusion to WCW as a whole. So I wish that could have been explored.
All right, and now, last but not least, if you want to touch on that, TK, you can.
Well, I agree with a lot of what Randy said, especially waiting until the contracts came up, because you look at WrestleMania 17 the week before, that's when they bought WCW. WrestleMania 18, Invasion was done and over, and most guys were just another guy. You had DDP wrestling for the European Championship. You had Scott Hall fighting Stone Cold in a mid-card match on a WrestleMania. So if you would have maybe started the Invasion later, I think it would have been big time. WrestleMania 18 should have been the culmination of that feud. And then so you would have Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Booker T. You have DDP. You have big name players fighting. And so if you have someone like one guy, maybe like Stone Cold, jump ship, it's like, oh my God, WWF lost Stone, or WWE lost Stone Cold. He just went and joined all these guys. Who's going to save us? Boom, Triple H comes out in Madison Square Garden in 2002. You got, Team WWE versus Team WCW at WrestleMania. I think that could have made that whole storyline much bigger and much more impactful if they had just waited 6 more months to start it.
I think with the invasion angle,
I'm with them with that.
A funny thing I remember, this was back before I even had an iPhone. I was the kid in middle school who had a flip phone, but I had an MP3
Not
player.
the only one. You're not the only one.
But I had an MP3 player.
I had one too.
I had an MP3 player,
flip,
and I would load up matches on this MP3 player because it played videos, and I had the Survivor Series Invasion angle match, where it was Team WWE versus Team ECW, WCW. I had a lot of matches on there. I had I think Jeff Hardy and Edge from Extreme Rules. I had a lot of good matches on that MP3 player. And what happened to it? Well, after I got an iPod Touch, I destroyed it. So, and now on my computer, I have a bunch of PWG and New Japan matches because those are a lot cooler to me now. But
my god, brother Tyler would like you very much. He would like you very much by mentioning that.
Now, TK, what is your submission?
So my what if about a push here, I kind of centered in on, the early 2010s, 2011 to 2013, 2014, an idea about Cody Rhodes. I went to Survivor Series 2011 at MSG, and there were the three loudest pops of the night, without a doubt, were Rock's first match, CM Punk winning the WWE title from Del Rio, and just Cody Rhodes coming out for the 5-on-5 Survivor Series tag. Other than chanting for Zack Ryder, the crowd loved Cody Rhodes. This was Cody Rhodes right after he got rid of the mask. So you think about Cody Rhodes, he's always hit things out of the park with pretty much anything, most of the things he does. He had the dashing Cody Rhodes, then he got hurt, and he went for the facial disfigurement mask Cody Rhodes. And this was kind of after all that, right after he brought back the white belt for the Intercontinental title. So Cody Rhodes had a great year, and then in 2012 he does Teams Rhodes Scholars with Damian Sandow, and that does well, and that leads to 2013 Money in the Bank, where Rhodes kind of got betrayed by Sandow, and Sandow won Money in the Bank. So what I really want to hone in on right here for my push is SummerSlam 2013. The third match of the night on the card was Cody Rhodes versus Damian Sandow. Now, what I would have changed there is Cody Rhodes versus Damian Sandow for the Money in the Bank contract. Have that match before the contract and have Cody win just like he does. Cody wins that match in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And he has now in my timeline, my push, the Money in the Bank contract. But Cody is going to be a white meat babyface. Is going to be your genuine babyface here. He's going to stand in the ring because the very next match is Alberto Del Rio versus Christian for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Cody's going to cash in one match ahead of time, even after facing Sandow. And I'm going to have Cody win that by pinning Christian. The next night the next couple nights on SmackDown, Del Rio cashes in his rematch right away and loses to some outside interference. So the only one Cody has pinned is Christian. Now we have Night of Champions, Battleground, Hell in a Cell, Survivor Series, and TLC before the titles get unified here. In WWE's timeline, they had Del Rio face RVD at Night of Champions and Battlegrounds, and forget Hell in a Cell, and then Cena at Survivor Series. He might have faced Cena at Hell in a Cell too. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Cody face Sandow at Night of Champions and beat him. Then Cody's going to go on and face RVD at Battlegrounds in a hardcore match and beat him. Then you're going to see some infighting with his brother, Goldust, seeing Cody with the big gold belt, Goldust getting jealous. So they're going to have a Hell in a Cell match, the Rhodes brothers, which is something that was always talked about and never really done right. Give Goldust a World Heavyweight title match at Hell in a Cell. It doesn't matter. You have 2 heavyweight titles. The big gold belt at this point was almost an afterthought, but now it won't be with the Rhodes brothers and all the drama you can have from there, but have Cody retain. And then that leads us to Survivor Series in Boston, Massachusetts. And that's where you have John Cena say, you've pinned Christian, you've pinned RVD, you've pinned your brother. These guys are not A-list materials. These guys are not me, which is a little bit of a heel promo, but still they're not John Cena. And you have Cody Rhodes beat John Cena at Survivor Series. So when they go into TLC, it's Cody Rhodes, World Heavyweight Champion, the same big gold belt his father beat Ric Flair for in a steel cage match at Great American Bash 1986. The same big gold belt he wore, Cody Rhodes has, and he's going to put it on the line against Orton to unify it, and that's when you have Orton beat him. But that leaves so much things open for Cody Rhodes rather than just a tag team with his brother and Stardust. Now he's a former World Heavyweight Champion. He's had a whole half a year of a huge push, and who knows what 2014 and the future looks like for Cody Rhodes. Who knows if CM Punk stays or leaves because CM Punk sees that people are getting pushed. Daniel Bryan is getting pushed to the WWE title. Cody Rhodes just had the World Heavyweight title. A lot of why CM Punk left was his disgruntlement with the way WWE works and just giving Orton and Cena the title and having Orton and Cena fight again, and now Batista coming to get the title. Who knows what the WWE looks like in the future if you give Cody Rhodes that push. Cody Rhodes might not leave the WWE. We might not have AEW. Cody Rhodes could be a main event player right now because when you watch him on AEW, it is undoubtedly true that he is a main event player. So for my what-if push, I would push Cody Rhodes because I think that could be the hinge point of a lot of change in the WWE if that would have happened.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's all good.
You were preaching to the choir there, sir.
That's very true. The one thing with AEW, I kind of think where would AEW have fully gotten the kickstart if Cody was not involved at all?
I mean, when Cody left WWE, he said, I'm going to go out and chase my own dream. I remember he had a match with Kurt Angle in upstate New York. I didn't get to go see it, but I wanted to. But he was just going out and facing different guys. And I feel like when Cody left and started doing that, I feel like a lot of attention got brought to the indie scene. And it really helped the indie scene grow. I'm not even saying that this push for Cody would have been as good for the indie scene as he is outside of WWE. I'm just saying that would have been better for WWE. But I think Cody was instrumental for AEW. And I don't know what we have without Cody Rhodes out there. Because Cody Rhodes, he has a mind for the business, much like his father. He grew up around it. He was nurtured by it. I mean, he's a guy you could really trust. Okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. So I don't know, Zach. What do you think?
It's interesting. So I think I probably would have never got more interested into the indie scene if it wasn't for when Cody left, because I saw that list of people. Because I knew of Kenny Omega, I knew of the Bucks, I knew of Will Ospreay and Ricochet because of the gifs that you see on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's very interesting to see because you're right though, the indie boom happened the moment Cody Rhodes stepped foot into an ROH or PWG show.
Yeah, 100%.
And
Him going to Japan also made a huge difference as well.
oh yeah, and because we still have a bit more time, I'm just gonna throw my what if out there. And this is a what if that I've always talked about even before this show was an idea. What if Zack Ryder never got that push? Like, where would, like, and I say this very, like, sparingly because I've been listening to the MC True Lagan story, which is where Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, has been going back and watching his old Z True Lagan story episodes, and he brought up, like, where would WWE be if it wasn't for my show? They would never have used YouTube that much. Twitter would not have been used as much as well. Like, Zack Ryder was a major key player in WWE using social media. And, like, no one can deny that either. Like, he was a key player in that era.
I remember when his Z True Island story started coming out in that YouTube series. I remember him drawing a picture of money and saying, "Look, I can draw money." And it made me such a fan of Zack Ryder. I thought, this guy's hilarious. You know, he's climbing over a fence. And he goes, "Look, Vince, I can get over." You know, like all that stuff is classic YouTube stuff now. And you know, I think WWE would have gotten on the ball eventually, but just like Dean Ambrose coming out looking like Bane 6 years too late, I think they would have been much later into the game. So I definitely think Zack Ryder pushed WWE into social media way earlier than WWE anticipated getting into it, you know? So he definitely did make a lot of change. And unfortunately for him, it hurt him in the long run, because if WWE doesn't make you, they will destroy you. Yeah. And forever we see Kane pushing him off in the wheelchair.
That was to his detriment. It's almost like, okay, you are a self-made person and we have no other choice but to push you. But when that time comes, we can definitely pull the rug from under you, and they did that to him, unfortunately. Like, he was self-made. You know,
he was the first one to do that too. I
don't think that without Zack Ryder's influence, we don't get the kind of creative wrestling angles we see. We don't get Be the Elite without Z True Hollywood Stories. We don't get another boom of wrestling had it been for that bringing attention to the fact that wrestling can cross over to social media. You know, from Twitter to Tout to all these social media WWE's had to exploit to get more notoriety. They've done it and used it. And by that virtue, you got more fans and more wrestlers involved, and seeing these other promotions now hip to the game. Because now it used to be by hearsay, you know, like a folktale legend. Now with that social media boom, it allowed other promotions from the indies to say, well, we can self-market ourselves like this because we don't need to be on the big show. It's kind of like music. If you're on a major label, sure, you have the machine to push you.
Yeah.
But if you're underground and everything's hearsay, people who are underground now don't need major labels. They're self-sufficient. You know, they don't need the major label to distribute their music. They can get it easily to the fans through social media. And from that, and if they rock with you, they're going to rock with you. You don't need the big machine behind you to prove that.
It's like you mentioned Tao. Like, man, every time someone brings that up, I just get a flood of memories. Because when I was, like, even before the Outlaw was a thing, I was in a promo league on Tout with a bunch of people. Like, I'll never forget those days. Tout was like the WWE version of TikTok or Vine, because you were able to just have fun. You can create a promo league with friends or a bunch of random people that then become friends. But just like and even like going back, like Zack Ryder was the first person of that era to become to put himself over organically, and not like and not have like the push of Vince behind him.
Yeah, and like Randy said, you could have the machine behind you, and that's what guys in WWE have. But then you start seeing, comparing to from there to others, that, you know, these guys aren't really allowed to be themselves in WWE. You start getting to know them outside of their wrestling persona. Like, I thought Stone Cold was always Stone Cold when I was watching WWF in 1998. I was like, this guy's this way all the time. But now you see that, yeah, they are playing more of a personality. But if you go to the indie scene or to not WWE, you see their in-ring personas are a lot closer to their real personas. So it's a detriment to WWE a little bit, but it also, it helps the indie scene because these guys can be like Danhausen. I love Danhausen. You just watch Danhausen, he's great.
Yeah.
And he would never ever succeed in WWE, but here he is on the indies doing great.
Like, even to go to like a Dark Side of the Ring episode of Nick Gage, John Moxley said, like, Vince would kill to have someone like Nick Gage, like, be in his company, because the way he just connects with the fans, it's so interesting. But because we are at the time, guys, gotta keep that strict time limit.
So hey, I'm just gonna say one thing.
Yes.
I'm sorry I didn't talk a lot. Didn't
right.
realize my mic was muted. So like I've been trying to like cut in the last like 6 minutes, and I'm like, what the hell? And
I actually was thinking, I was like,
muted.
where's Clint, man? He's been quiet.
No, my mic has been muted. So there you go.
I am so sorry about that.
No, you're good, bro. You're good. So that's the only reason I didn't talk is because I'm an idiot and muted my phone somehow.
Any last words? So we're out of time, though, Clint. Anything you said
any last words?
Yes. So I don't think Xavier Woods is the same person he is without Zack Ryder because of his social media presence too, the up, down, down. And with Zack Ryder to follow that whole thing, when you're the first one, you're kind of the worst one, right? You start it and everybody sees it and everybody uses you as a stepping stone. So bam, that's why I think he got out. And that's why now the social media stuff has stopped. Cody Rhodes, I agree with him not getting the push. I wish he would have. And I wish there would have been a bigger feud between him and Goldust. And next time I'm on, I'm not going to mute my microphone because I'm not going to be an idiot.
If you look at this in the long run, like at least we did get that insane match 2 years ago today. By the way, Cody versus Dustin at Double or Nothing.
That's true. That's true. But I think it was about 5 years too late.
Oh yeah,
because you could see Dustin was old, and obviously Cody was on top of the world. But I think if you really get him going when Cody had the IC and everything else, I think it could have definitely spun into something a lot better.
Yeah.
A big what if there. So.
All right. Other than that, guys, we're gonna give everyone their time to say where they're from and pimp out their stuff. I'm gonna go first since I'm the host and I could do that. You can catch me every Friday and Saturday for the time being, wherever podcasts are found, and on YouTube for my movie podcast, Box Office Losers. It's a podcast I host with my friend where we talk and review any and all things to ever grace the silver screen or your TV screen. Randy, where can we catch you?
You can find me at _, his name is King on Instagram. Also Backstage Brawl on Instagram as well. The Backstage Brawl on Facebook, Backstage_Brawl on Twitter. And all of our audio podcasts are on the Anchor app.
All right. Clint, you got anything?
So I'm Clint. You can find me on Facebook at Clint Hall. Pretty plain. We also do have a Facebook page, ECWD, Epic Championship Wrestling Discussion. So you can find me there. That's one of our pages. Nothing major, just something to, just talk and converse with people. That's about it.
All right. And TK, where can we find you?
I mean, you can always find me on the Sports Hit List by the fans for the fans. But that's about it. I'll be there. All
right, guys. We thank you all for watching. And we'll catch you all next week for the next episode. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching the Sports Hit List. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. In fact, do it now.